You've talked a little bit about this resurgence of reefer madness in the media. Tell me about that.
Oh gosh, we are getting to the point where the fever pitch for cannabis is reaching an all-time high. One of the beauties of prohibition was it forced everyone to kind of look at this plant. So an unintended consequence is they made it very popular by prohibiting it. And now we're kind of seeing the media attacking the plant. I know Fox News had mentioned that the Uvalde shooter was somebody that was just sitting around smoking reefer, and then he went and shot up a school. And it's like, that's literally not the cause of why somebody would go murder
or
children.
even relevant.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes back to the crazed Mexican that murdered a woman and children after he smoked the devil's lettuce. And it's like, none of this is true. But again, like when it comes to just trying to get people to be fearful, they don't care if it's factual or not. It aligns with what they already think, so it works. And it's kind of at the point where they're going to start relating it to communism. It's kind of like if you look at the wheel of how prohibition is played out, communism is going to be the next focal point for why cannabis should be illegal. Like the communists want you to smoke to make our country weaker, to make people dumber. And it's working. It is so effective. There's an article out, producer Mark just mentioned about, edibles being so dangerous. And we're talking about plants. Like liquor is literally, you can get it at Vons, you can get it at Ralph's, you can get it at Walmart, Target, liquor stores, football games, anywhere. And it's probably, if somebody is drinking, there's a good chance that I was at the grocery store looking at the wall of alcohol and I was like, wow, one of those bottles contains death. Somebody's going to get in their car and drive and kill somebody. It is 100% sure that one of these items up here is going to cause death or harm. Edibles are going to cause you to eat a lot and probably go to sleep. That's the most dangerous thing, I would say. And then if you eat too much, you might feel like you're going to die, but you won't.
Yeah, I think media, they're looking also just to sensationalize, right?
Yes.
So if there's a robbery, it's way more interesting if it's at a dispensary.
Yeah.
And confirming the association.
Yeah, I mean, news isn't news anymore. It's entertainment. It's entertainment news. It's not factual. And then the stuff that, is true, it's kind of boring and they can't retain your attention if it's boring. So we have to sensationalize it. And unfortunately, this plant has gone through that before. It'll survive it again. But I feel that if you consume, you kind of owe it to your use and what it does for you to kind of tell the truth, because it's begun. Yeah.
Have you ever gotten so high that you can't function? And what is your best story?
Oh my gosh. I ate 30 milligrams on a plane. And then I was like, wow, this feels way stronger. And then I realized I ate 300 milligrams. So I cried on the plane for 5 hours. And I was like, how am I going to drive? My car is at the airport. I can't drive. I was so emotional. So emotional. It was the worst plane ride. When I finally landed, I'm walking to go get my car. In Delta Airlines, I flew all the time in Detroit. So they met me. They knew I landed. They met me. They grabbed my bags. They had my car ready for me. I was just I don't know how I sobered up enough in time, but it was the last 10 minutes.
How did you mistake 30 milligrams for 300?
Oh my gosh. In Michigan, the labels were so it was the whole candy bar is 100 milligrams, but one each piece was 100 milligrams.
Oh, they were saying that the dose was one square, yes, but you thought it was the whole bar.
Yes. Yeah. And this was before legalization. This was 2016, 2015, 2016. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was terrible. So I had a blanket on my head and cried the whole flight.
So recently I was at a lawyer event, okay, and a lawyer from the state of Texas gave me an edible from Texas.
Okay.
And she's like, it's whatever, Delta 8. And so it's weaker, here's a gummy. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just split it. So thank God we split it. I split it with another attorney, and then that other attorney and myself, we went like 2 separate directions. We had our evening, and then we like circled up the next morning, and both of us were like dead that night.
Oh,
like
no.
We thought we were taking like the equivalent of like 5 milligrams, but it was the equivalent of 30 milligrams.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just like I have this total blackout moment that I have never had, and like confused as to why. I'm like laying in my bed, I'm like, I literally cannot get up.
Oh no, I wonder if Delta 8 edibles have a different effect than Delta 9. I personally have not gone into the Delta 8 train. I'm in LA where there's Delta 9 everywhere, and I know that some Delta 8 is synthetic, so I just kind of stay away from it. But I'm interested to know if it actually is a similar high or even more stronger high in some cases.
So what was explained to me the day after was that apparently they have to use like fillers, like this glycol, or I'm not,
it's like an isomer, I think.
Yeah. And so because they have to fill it with more stuff, it becomes more potent in the body. So it's actually can be stronger than a Delta 9 gummy.
Okay.
Yikes. I generally stay away from those as well, but it's like, just opportunity. But it was very interesting.
A wild ride.
Further highlights like the problems of like this patchwork of laws where every state is different, not consistent labeling, not consistent dosage, not consistent regulations, and increasingly that stuff is just hitting the market.
I mean, they don't understand it, and that's clear. Like, CBD is legal if it comes from a hemp plant, but not a cannabis plant. But you tell me, when you put that CBD under a microscope, can you tell the difference?
Nobody can tell the difference.
No, a molecule is a molecule, whether it comes from a CBD plant or from a hemp plant or a cannabis plant. And fun fact, they're the same thing, which is why your drug dogs can't tell the difference between hemp and cannabis, because THC has no scent.
Well, cannabis is the name of the strain, right? Of the plant.
Yeah, that's the scientific name. Hemp is a legal definition. If it's 0.3% and below, it's hemp. But if it's 0.4, it's cannabis sativa. It is a high CBD, low THC sativa strain. That's literally how it's marketed. Hemp is just a legal term.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling. We just wrote an article called the hemp conundrum, the great hemp conundrum. And that's like the 3rd time I've written that article. So over the years, we basically just like revisit the great hemp conundrum. Yeah. And it's just like so different every time.
It's insane. But gosh, you can tell that as a nation, we're not really understanding. Like, states have CBN legal, but THC is illegal. And it's hilarious that you don't know why that's hilarious. Because CBN is just a degradation of THC, Delta 9. That's all it is. It's psychoactive. Maybe not as much as THC, but it's psychoactive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. What's the future like for cannabis? What's the future like for the cannabis cutie?
Oh, I thought that I wanted federal legalization. I don't. I want to see this stay with the states and for the lawmakers to just really educate themselves. I honestly want to believe that they're just ignorant to the science in the endocannabinoid system. But if they learn all of this and they still hold the same position, then we understand that there's, much more at play. Ideally, we learn, we grow, and we change our habits. But if not, the fight goes on. I also have a fear that the Supreme Court might take this away from us because, what they just did to women. So I'm very worried about the future of cannabis, but also I still have those glimmers of hope.
Glimmers of hope.
Glimmers.
Just glimmers, glimpses of it.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, it's a good day. And then there's other days where you see what's happening and it worries you.
Yeah. I'm really worried about, like I said, the small businesses. I feel like, the various like licensing programs. I mean, it's all so messy. And especially in California, we're seeing so many folks here in the industry that are struggling really hard, But But I'm excited about like some of the new developments, like New York, I think is really exciting just to see a whole new industry emerge. And then, I mean, they're going to cross state lines. It's going to happen.
There's no choice. I mean, you look at Oklahoma, that would be an ideal state because they're central. So if they were able to do interstate commerce, they could kind of be a distribution hub.
Well, they already are doing.
They are. They absolutely are. North, south, east, and west. It's going everywhere.
Yeah.
But interstate commerce is such a huge issue. And not every state wants to be huge cultivators. They would rather just be distributors or, whatever it is. So hopefully that's a big one. I know there are three different pieces of legislation that are in the House. Is it the MORE Act? There's another act that I know Normal is like really pushing hardcore with Chuck Schumer. I can't think of the name. It's a bunch of letters.
So you're talking about safe banking?
No, not the safe or more. It's the
the CAOA.
Yeah, a whole bunch of letters.
Yeah, which is I think used to be the CARES Act.
Okay.
And they
Is it the states?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, the states.
We need to review that one.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
Yeah,
they all die. That's the
thing. I'm like,
there's no point in following them. They're gonna die. As soon as if they make it through the House, they'll die on the Congress floor. So,
how does like the law or the regulation of cannabis like affect your kind of business?
So I'm non-plant touching. Completely. Right. And I'm mostly just wanting to consult and help people. Like if you have a product, I can help you with positioning or kind of, your target market, but you don't know what they want. I'm going to help you there. But I try to stay away from any kind of businesses that are plant touching. I don't feel like the time is right, especially for someone who's smaller. In California, you've got to have upwards of $1 million to be successful. And I just don't see the point in jumping in right now with so much oversaturation. So I want to help the businesses that do have that and that are coming into the industry and with like a cultural perspective of, somebody who actually consumes the plant, understands the plant, and is ingrained in the culture. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yay.
So how does legalization affect pricing of cannabis?
This has been a really interesting thing to watch, at least in California, and I think it's kind of true state by state, is that initially in the emerging market, the price is set, and then we start to see, depending on the tax and the regulatory framework, how businesses can price their cannabis, because like in California, they have to obviously, regulated cannabis is way more expensive from a tax perspective to the consumer. But on the back end, the wholesale price for like growers and manufacturers, we've seen just like drop heavily. And I think that's because over the years and over time, cannabis has become a commodity, right? So it's become like, the production of anything else. And so we've really seen the price drop on the wholesale side. So like, when I first started practicing law, a pound would wholesale for like $5,000-$6,000. Yeah. And, now it's like, maybe 3,000 if it's like top shelf, but outdoor and stuff, it's like 1,500. So the wholesale side, the price is really, really going down. The retail side, I don't really go to that many retail shops. Yeah. So you tell me, like, what is your experience at the store? If you go, I don't
really go to retail shops either. But I know that taxes, are between 23 and like 34%. So even if you're getting $100 worth of product, you still have to, another $23 to $34 in just tax. Like that's another product, honestly.
Yeah, I would say like I've seen on the retail side that the prices pretty much stay the same. Like I haven't seen. The only thing that I would say is that certain retailers that have their own in-house like brand, they can really like lower the price. But for the consumer, I think the price goes up for it's kind of this weird thing because the price goes up for the regulated cannabis for the consumer, but it goes down for the producer on the wholesale side. So all of these costs are just going to basically regulation and taxes and
Mm-hmm.
not to the producer or the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an issue that we're seeing with legalization, that I think as each market becomes more and more mature, we're going to see happen.
Yeah.
And I think with federal legalization, that's going to be even more true. I think it's going to bottom out even more on the wholesale side, and maybe go up with if they include like federal tax measures and stuff.
Is this sustainable?
I don't think it's sustainable in the way that it's structured right
Yeah.
now. I think that we've been anticipating a large consolidation of like licenses and brands by some of these like bigger
Mm-hmm.
folks, and I think that, you know, basically we're going to just have these big mega companies that are going to be there, and then you might get like a franchise model, which would be
Mm-hmm.
interesting, like you know, like a, even as a social equity component. But yeah, I don't think it's sustainable, at least not on the business side. So we'll see what happens. It'll be really interesting.
Would it be cheaper for someone to just go get their own plant and to grow it and harvest it that way?
I've tried. It is not easy. Have you?
I have tried.
And
I did not succeed. I failed. I was doing outdoor,
uh-huh.
and it was a very hot summer, and the fires stuck to the ashes stuck to the resin of my plant, and that was pretty much
So
the
we
end.
right now we're in our office, and we grew here
Yeah.
for like, I don't know, a season, whatever, a year.
Yeah.
And so we were growing them indoor.
Okay.
And then we got complaints from the rest of the office
Oh
building
no.
because it smelled so bad. So then we took them outside and they died, basically.
Okay. Oh wow, somebody didn't like the smell of the skunks.
Yeah, it was really strong. I mean, I get it.
Like, are there skunks in the building? What's
yeah,
going
what's
on?
going on? No, the lawyers upstairs are growing weed.
Oh my god. Well, maybe one day we can make it so that it's so easy for people to grow at home, and then that way they can, you know, save some money by, you know, growing one harvest or two harvests.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess you could grow your own tomatoes, you could grow your own lettuce, you could grow, I mean, it kind of
apples, oranges, lemons.
Yeah,
herbs.
but are you going to?
You know, I try. I do attempt. Absolutely, especially knowing what we know now, what we all learned during COVID. So I do attempt. I'm just not good at it. It's like, wow, once upon a time in America, everybody knew how to garden or how to grow their own food before we had like mass commercialization of fruits and vegetables. So I think it's just a way to go back to land is kind of,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
I've tried it so many times. Every spring I plant a brand new herb garden. And then
Yeah.
it's
I tried herbs. They fried. They cooked in the sun. Yeah.
So I don't know. The price of weed, I think it'll level out at some point, but we're kind of on this weird pendulum for many years. I think it went down for the producer, and I think it's bottomed out and starting to come back up, but it's, by all reports, it's still pretty low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, good discussion. I
Yeah.
learned so much. Thank you for joining us again for part 2 on all things cannabis and law. Stay tuned for part 3. We'll be coming at you very soon. Take care.